Now, my next guest played 14 years in the NFL. And yeah, I know that's a long time. He also led the NFL in receptions 2 of those years, as well as receiving yards. He's a 7-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro. He's a BCS national champion. He's inducted into the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, the Houston Sports Hall of Fame, and he's in the Houston Texans Ring of Honor. Welcome to the HD Connection, my brother, Andre Johnson. Dre, how's life, bro?
It's great, man. I can't complain.
Now, first things first, I gotta let the people know what we called you when we played together in Tennessee. Now, for those of y'all who are watching, we used to call Dre Sensei. And for those of y'all who don't know what the definition of Sensei is, that means a teacher. Dre was a teacher. And why do we call him Sensei? If you ever seen the movie Ninja Turtles, all of those Ninja Turtles used to call Master Splinter Sensei. Now, Dre used to teach us all kind of things, man. Teach us how to get open, teach us certain things on routes, used to give us knowledge because he played 14 years in the NFL. So that's what I want to let the people know first, Dre. Now, I want to get to the U. You see this helmet I got back here, right? The U.
Yeah, I see you represent back there.
Of Miami. And I want to say this. I need the University of Miami to get back to the University of Miami when you played there.
No, I agree. I think everybody feels that way. I don't feel like college football is really the same unless you have Miami, Florida State, University of Florida, those teams involved in, as I'm used to playing where those teams were the top teams in the country at the time, you know what I'm saying? So it just doesn't feel right, when you see that those teams are not, one of the top teams in the country.
Now, while you was at Miami, first of all, y'all had NFL talent after NFL talent. You played with guys like Sean Taylor, Ed Reed, Jeremy Shockley, Jonathan Vilma, Vince Wilford, all these type of guys, including yourself. Man, how was that locker room though? How was it, man, with all y'all guys being there? And from each high school, every guy probably was the man, right? And then y'all come to this university and everybody else still wants to be the man. Right. But how did y'all make it work? And how did y'all end up gelling to the point where y'all had so much success?
Well, I think the thing about it was everybody had to, you had to check your ego at the door. You know what I'm saying? So it was a team, like the team was ran by the players. You know what I'm saying? Like the coaches didn't really have to step in and do too much. Even though we had a great coaching staff, but as players, we held each other accountable. You know what I'm saying? And you don't really find that with guys at that age, but if you was doing something terrible out on the field, dudes would let you know. They would check you about it. So I think just that, with us just holding each other accountable all the time and, you not taking it personal and just, listening to your teammates and, us just, we had one ultimate goal, and that was to win the national championship. And, everybody had to check their ego at the door.
And that's big that you say that because, man, when I played with the Falcons and when I was in the receiver group with me, Rod, Julio, Hester, and times when I was in the receiver group with me, Rod, Michael Jenkins, Brian Finnegan, one of the things that we did a great job of was when we messed up, we didn't need our receiver coach or our OC or our head man to come to us and let us know we messed up. We was going to check one another. And I feel like we grew as individuals, we grew as a group. And that's why when I played there during those times, we were the best group on the team because we had that bond and we didn't take things personally.
Right. Yeah, I definitely like with just having Santana and Reggie there.
Yeah.
They were older than me, but they basically like showed us the ropes. You know what I'm saying? Like they came in and they would just spend time with us after practice, when we're a true freshman, we have a full practice and then after practice, they'll be like, nah, y'all not going in. You know what I'm saying? And they would just take us through different drills and things like that. So when you have the older guys like showing you the way like that, that just carries on. So when they leave, you the next guy in line. So you have to do the same thing to keep the tradition going. So it was definitely a challenging time because, for me, I wasn't used to nothing like that. And to see like the group be so competitive amongst each other, it brought out the best in us. So, if Santana went and made a deep play, I want to go make a deep, catch a deep one too. You know what I'm saying? So it was always like we was always trying to outdo each other, but not in a bad way. It was just a way of making us all better.
Now, 2001 national championship game versus Nebraska. Now, they had a corner that was highly rated going into that game. After you had 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 co-MVP of the Rose Bowl, I'm pretty sure that changed his draft status. Now, what kind of zone were you in during that game? Because, man, you balled out, man.
Well, the whole week, that's all I kept hearing about was Keo Craver, and I didn't think that he was a bad player or anything like that. I thought that whatever he had did until that point, I guess he had lived up to the hype. I really didn't know much about him, to be honest, because I really didn't watch a lot of Nebraska football at that time. So the whole week I just kept hearing, like, what are you going to do when you face Keo Craver? Like, I just kept hearing it all the time, and I just was tired of it. So coming in that week, my receiver coach told me, he was like, man, we're going to throw you like 3 or 4 deep balls. And I was just like, yeah, whatever. Like, I just kind of brushed it off. So like that week in practice, like they was just throwing it to me deep like the whole time during practice. So I was just like, all right, like, if we're going to do this in the game, like, I got to be ready. You know what I'm saying? So I just took it as a personal challenge. Like, everybody was talking about how he was the #1 cornerback coming out, and he was an All-American and this, that, and the other. So to be on that stage and then play against him and to do what I did, I think that was just the Andre Johnson coming out party. You know what I'm saying? Like, people really got to see like who I was as a football player.
Respect, much respect. Now, 2002 come. Y'all back in that national championship game. Y'all still have a powerhouse roster. Y'all facing Ohio State. Willis McGahee goes down, a crushing injury, an injury that I know that hit y'all in the heart, the entire team, and probably the entire Miami Hurricane fan base. Talk about that loss and that adversity and how you learned from that.
Well, it was that situation is still touchy, like right now to this day, like even when you talk about it, because guys had sacrificed so much to get to that point, and then to have that game coming out to a play call, to a pass interference call, it was just kind of mind-boggling. But it is what it is. It happened, and I at the end of the day, when the game was over, all the guys, we came in the locker room, and it really wasn't much. It really wasn't much said. Guys just kind of went around giving each other hugs and things like that, because some guys were seniors, and that was my last game, as a Hurricane. So it was an emotional moment for some guys, because they knew that would be their last time, putting on that orange and green. So I just think with a situation like that, man, everything's not going to end perfect, but at the end of the day, you still got to learn how to bounce back from it.
That's right. Now, you were a 2-sport athlete at the University of Miami. A lot of people don't even know that.
Right.
You played the game of football, and you were a track athlete as well. How did track, how did you use the sport track to your advantage on the football field?
Well, I think for me, I started running track when I was I ran track in Little League, but I really didn't like it then. And then when I got in high school, I started running. And my receiver coach at the time in high school, he put me in the 400. And I was just out there running, man, to be honest. I was just like, I'm going to do something to stay in shape. You know what I'm saying? There was a couple other guys that played football that was running. So I was just like, hell, I'm going to go out there and run too. So, but after running that 400 that year in track, I could see the translation like over to the football field. Like, I felt like I became stronger as a player, with just, my running form and things like that. And when I went to college, my coach, he used to always like pick at me. He always felt like, the way I ran was, he was like, you don't lift your knees up. You always kicking your butt. So I know, which is Curtis Johnson, he's a receiver with the Saints right now. So one day he just grabbed me. He was like, you got your track spikes? I was like, yeah. He was like, go downstairs and change. And he took me on the track. So they him and Coach E, they had set up these like blocks, and they was like, I want you to just stride through the blocks, over and over and over. So I started striding through the blocks, and like I could instantly see like the form in my running change. Mm-hmm. So when I did that, I was just like, I could see like, I could feel it on the field, in and out of cuts a lot better and things like that. So after I did that with Coach E, I was just like, man, I'm gonna go just run track, mm-hmm. When we're in the off season. And I went and did that, man. I was able to win the conference champ, be a conference champ in the 60 and 100-meter dash in college. So it all paid off for me.
And I brought that up because nowadays you don't see these young cats playing multiple sports, right? You know what I mean? They just stick in the football. They just stick in the basketball. Right. When we grew up, man, we played everything. Right. And a lot of these guys understand when they're trying to get drafted and go to that next level, that's one of the things that these GMs and these owners and these head coaches are looking for, guys who are multi-sport athletes and can do it all and have that transition. So that's why I asked you about that.
Yeah, definitely. I played basketball in high school also, and like, I feel like the football field helped me on the basketball court, because I feel like, a lot of guys on the basketball court, they're pretty flat-footed, but mm-hmm. me being on the football field, I just felt like that helped me defensively, on the basketball court, just with being able to move my feet and different things like that. So they all translate, they all help in certain ways and different parts of your game. So, but I would definitely tell any kid to just be involved in everything, man. Don't just stick to one sport, because, at the end of the day, it's going to benefit
you. Yeah. Now you get drafted to the Houston Texans, 3rd overall selection. You played this game for a long time, but you done had some monster years as well now. You led the NFL in receiving yards 2008, 2009. You led the NFL in receptions 2006, 2008. What played into that success at the highest level? Because now you're not in high school. You're not in college. You at the highest level, the NFL, the best of the best. What helped you have that success on the field?
And I can't lie. Like, I remember after my rookie year, it was probably like 2 months after the season had ended. And I was telling my boys back home, I was like, man, I'm ready to go back to work. And they was like, what you mean? Like, the season just ended. I'm like, man, like I can do this. Like, I know I can dominate this league. You know what I'm saying? So that offseason, man, I just went, like, when I came back in shape, I was like, it was crazy. Like, I remember running my conditioning test, and like, guys was just like, man, like, what the hell are you doing this offseason? But I was so amped to get back because, as kids, we want to play in the NFL. Like, that was my childhood dream. And like, when I got there and just to see it and be a part of it, I was just like, man, like, I could really, do some great things in this league. So I was just ready to come back. And like I said, I put my head down and I just went to work. And when I came back that next season, my second year, I made my first Pro Bowl. You know what I'm saying? So after I did that, man, it was just kind of uphill from there. And once Coach Kubiak got here, he was all about getting his playmakers the ball. And man, the first year, man, it was just like, it was crazy. That was my first 100-catch season, when he got here. So everything just kept going up from there.
It's just crazy how that offensive system has just been so successful for so long, whether it was the Denver Broncos with John Elway and Mike Shanahan. Kubiak was the backup quarterback to John Elway. Right. He brought that offense to Houston. Those guys took it to the Washington Redskins at the time. They brought it to Atlanta. Now it's in the Bay Area with the 49ers. It's with the Rams. It's up there in Cincinnati. It's in Green Bay. It was a little bit of it was in Tennessee. Now it's going to be with the Jets. But it's just crazy to see how that offense has evolved and been so great, especially to quarterbacks and receivers.
Yeah, I remember my first 2 years in the league. We used to practice against Denver. Every year we have a joint practice. And I swear, man, like, I can't lie. I used to sit on the sideline. I used to be like, man, how in the hell are these receivers getting so wide open? You know what I'm saying? Because I wasn't in the system, so I didn't understand it at the time. But when Coach Kubiak got here, him and Kyle Shanahan, like when they sat down and explained everything to us, and you know how you have to make everything look the same with the run game and how the run game works off the pass game. Like once you understood that part of it, it made everything so much easier.
And that's love, man. That's love. Shout out to Coach Kubiak. Now, Dre, playing with you in Tennessee and being around you, man, you're one of the most humble human beings I've ever played with, or people, period. You're laid back, you're a chill human being. You don't bother anybody, you mind your own business. But on November 28th, 2010, BB Cortland Finnegan, listen, sometimes you just got to whoop a motherfucker ass. You know what I mean? It's just as simple as that, Drake. I'm going to say that because I know you, Dre. You like my brother. So my brother, he cool, calm, collected, don't bother nobody. It takes a lot to get him riled up. So that whole debacle right there, man, what was the last straw to lead you to actually teach that young man some discipline?
It was something that had been going on for a few years. You know, it's crazy because before that season at the Pro Bowl, you know, me and him had actually spoke. And you know, I thought everything was cool, you know, after we talked or whatever. But, you know, he just went back to his old ways, you know, and, you know, there's only so much you could tell a person, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, I think it just got to a point to where I just kind of lost it a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And you know, whatever happened after that happened.
All right, we're going to move on from that. That's in the past. You know what I mean? Hey, Sensei, I had to ask you, Sensei.
I knew that was coming.
Hey, you know your boy. Now, I want to talk about wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins. He came into the league the same time you were in the NFL, and I love y'all's relationship, right? It reminds me of the relationship that Julio Jones and Roddy White has. Tell me what that relationship is like between y'all two guys.
It's like the well, I have a little brother, but he's just like a brother from another mother, you know what I'm saying? He's very man, the man asks questions like all the time. Like he's always trying to learn. He's, you know, always trying to better himself. You know, not just in football, but in life, you know, ever since I've been around him, that was the first thing I told him. I was like, man, if you got any problems, anything, you know, don't hesitate to call me or reach out to me. And he hasn't, you know, like I've talked to him the whole season. You know, if I don't call him, he's calling me and, you know, asking me what I think about certain things and things like that. So it's a great relationship, man. And, you know, we still, like last offseason, we had some workouts together and things like that. He'll call me to come work out with him and stuff. So he's always trying to learn and to improve his game and just get better as a player.
And I think that's dope because I've known people who have come into the NFL, right? And they have veterans in their room and they try to reach out to those guys and they kind of shush them away because the fact that they might be there to take their job. But I always tell people, my daddy always taught me this, Dre. Listen, son, don't ever worry about another man. You know what I mean? You do everything for everybody to be good. If that man come to you from help, you help that man.
Right.
And I love the fact, but it also says the kind of person that you are.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's why I respect you on so many levels. Now, Dre, I got to tell people this story about the locker room. So, y'all, Dre was sponsored by Jordan, right? Dre was sponsored by Jordan. So, Dre would get packages all the time. And it's so funny, man. I'm trying to stop laughing. I remember equipment guy came in one day. He said, "Oh, man, Drake got a lot of packages." I said, "Yeah, we got a lot of packages." Right? Dre, people, I got to let y'all know, man. But Dre used to get about packages after packages. We used to be like, man, y'all want to wait for Drake? Hell nah, we ain't waiting for Drake. Hey, the receiver group got some packages. So I had to let everybody know that story right there, man. Last thing I talk about Deshaun Watson, right? We know everything that's going on with him. when you speak and you say something, everybody listens. I listen.
Right.
That's the respect everybody has for you, because I already mentioned you're a guy who don't say much. And recently you said, if I'm Deshaun Watson, I will stand my ground. Now I want you to explain why you made that statement, because that was strong coming from you.
Well, I think, just looking at the situation, I've been around this organization for a long time, and
yeah,
I worked there last season, and just it's just certain things you see, and being able to be on that side of it, it's just certain things you see that that's not right.
Yeah.
And for the caliber of player that Deshaun is, I wouldn't want Deshaun to go through that.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through those things myself with the organization, and I did it for 12 years. So, because sometimes people always ask me, they be like, "What do you wish you can change different about your career?" And I always tell them I wish I was a little bit more selfish than always being just a team guy, because things that you want the organization to do, they're not always going to do it. But I think sometimes the organization don't listen to what you have to say. And I think us as players, we're in the locker room every day. We know what goes on with this team. So we're not telling you things to like take over your organization, or we're just trying to do things to help. And I think sometimes the top people in the organization, they just don't listen to players. And that's something that I felt like I had to deal with a lot when I was here. And, for him to be told that he's going to be involved in, the coaching hiring and the GM hiring and not to receive a call, then that's BS to me. Like, this is your franchise quarterback. How can you not involve him in that? You know what I'm saying? It's not – football now is not like it used to be when we first came in the league, where the players really couldn't say too much and things like that. Like,
let's take it over now.
Yeah, we have a voice now, and that's just what it is. They may not like it, but that's just what it is. Players are taking a stance for what they want, and I don't see nothing wrong with it. I wish I would have did it more when I was playing. I was more laid back then, and always about the team and trying to do this right for the team and do that team. But sometimes it makes you feel like the team doesn't have your best interest. And like I said, I just don't want to see Deshaun go through what I went through. So that's why I told him to stand his ground.
And it's crazy, Dre, man, because when I talk to people, forget that. In everyday life, I'm a man, you a man, this man over here. All we have in our life sometimes is our word, right? And once that gets crossed up, I don't know if I can trust you as a human being no more.
Right.
Because if you tell me one thing and then you doing another thing, then that's not the way we're gonna be with each other. And then now you have that friction. Another thing that I was looking at is that, okay, the most important people ever in the Houston Texans franchise, right? You, DeAndre Hopkins, JJ Watt, and Deshaun Watson. Those four people. It's kind of ironic and kind of odd to me that those four people has an issue with the organization some kind of way, and nobody else sees and understands that.
It's a lot of things I could, dive into, but I'm not. But
yeah,
it becomes frustrating, and I think for me, it's like it's so much air you can blow in a balloon before it busts. You know what I'm saying? So I think for me, it just me now being on the outside looking in, it's just kind of like, you know what, man? Like, I'm not gonna let these guys, go through this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've experienced this, and that stuff can really take a toll on you as a player. You know what I'm saying? So you giving yourself to this organization, you're doing everything you can. And I hate when people always say, well, you signed the contract. Yeah, I signed the contract because I earned the contract. If I didn't do nothing, I wouldn't get paid. You know what I'm saying? So I get tired of hearing that all that about, oh, well, he signed the contract. So what? You will sign the contract too if they gave you 100 and whatever million. You will sign it too. So it is, and at the end of the day, that's our security. You know what I'm saying? We don't have guaranteed contracts. We got to get the most guaranteed money we can at the time we can. And I think that's the thing people don't understand. So I just didn't want, you know, like I said, at the end of the day, I just didn't want Deshaun to go through that, man. And, you know, do I really want Deshaun to leave Houston? No, because I want to see the organization do well, you know, at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, I want him to do what's best for him. And if not being here is not best for him, then he don't need to be here.
Jay, I respect that 100%, man. I want to thank you for joining the HD Connection. Listen, you're a person, man, that I always looked up to because the way you conduct yourself, forget the football stuff, the way you are, the way you conduct your business off the field, the way you are, man. Thank you for joining the show, bro.
All right, bro. Appreciate you, man.